What if I told you that there was a movie that was so fucked up that you couldn't even believe it? This movie starts off innocently enough. I mean, there's an alien spaceship that crashes to Earth, and then Mosquito just happens to suck some of its blood. Nothing suspicious or weird going on here at all. But even weirder things start happening as we catch the scene of the main two characters from the show. We got some jack off and his girlfriend who are out in the middle of absolute nowhere, and they're on a trip out to the fucking campsites to have a good time like young people do. But they're not in for a good time. In fact, the very first thing that happens to them is extremely fucked up and would put me off all the way back home as they hit a gigantic freaking skeeter. Unfortunately, Jackoff's car gets completely fucked from it because it breaks his radiator. But I mean, if you saw a creature like that, how the fuck could you ever just be cool with it? There's no fucking way. And everybody is camping and having a good time as you realize that something's probably bad is gonna happen, but you have no idea. And we get a fair amount of tits and ass at this point, as there's actually, believe it or not, a pretty hilarious scene where this guy just straight up creeping on these girls in bikinis in the fucking bushes with binoculars. It's really a sight to behold. But this is only the start of the antics in this fucking movie because we're introduced to a whole cast of caricatures that are both interesting and somewhat disturbing at the same time. And as we go around, we start to realize we're in a campsite. Okay, there's a mosquito. Okay, okay, yeah. Mosquitoes suck the blood of an alien in a campsite with a whole bunch of young people. What the fuck do you think are going to happen? And it's very obvious what you're about to behold, my friends. And here, look at this. Even back in the early 90s, there was a diverse caricature who is actually fucking the most amazing character in the whole movie. Steve Dixon as Parks. He just nails the role and he's an awesome character. And it goes to show that even back in the day that a strong male black character in a movie is fucking awesome and very, very likable character. We're also introduced to a whole host of buffoons and fucking idiots along the way here. In particular, is the Goomba and his like army boys. But I think that the most important aspect of the movie is just how awesome the mosquitoes are themselves. There's a mixture of both uh, primitive CGI and fantastic practical effects. And that is the part that makes this movie stand out because no matter what dumb bullshit or characters come along, there may be some likable characters here, there may be some awesome acting there, there may be some shitty acting here, but when we have these creatures, holy shit, they start fucking massacring these people, and it's amazing, and it scared me as a fucking youngin'. I was fucking petrified of this movie, and there's some parts and scenes in it, they're just utterly fucking brutal and worth a watch through for the movie itself right now, because honestly, who gives a shit if it's fucking, if it's a super good movie, as long as it's got some brutal deaths in it, it's well worth the watch. So then after this brief kind of little bit, it just goes on a spree of all kinds of situations and scenes where these mosquitoes are just fucking brutalizing these people. It's actually quite hilarious, and they just they just go to fucking town on all these people and all these scenes. For example, the boat scene where the guy gets a fucking plunger of a mosquito popped right in his fucking eye and it's all out in brutal, gory detail. When you slow it down, it's all very obvious practical effects, but it catches your eye enough with these practical effects. And just the thought of a giant mosquito fucking putting its proboscis right through your body and sucking you out in an instant is the thought of the thing that makes it shine so fucking much in its goldenness. Now, watching a bunch of jack-offs in the woods get chased by giant mosquitoes and brutally slain is all fine and dandy, but we're actually getting to one of the greatest parts in the entire movie here. Shortly after those two idiots died, you get to a part where it is quite literally a dude and his girlfriend having sex out in the middle of the woods. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the guy goes out to take a piss. Now, you think that something bad might happen, but you literally have no idea the fucking horror you're in for in a very short moment. Now, as the guy's out taking a piss, uh, all drunk in the middle of the woods, uh, an experience that some of us may or not had similar to this. And you realize that he just wants to get back to his tent, but oh my god, what a surprise he's in for now. Mosquito fucking just gets in this fucking tent and fucking shoots its proboscis right through his girlfriend's fucking ass and starts sucking her out from fucking the inside. A scene that is just it's just so mint and so beautiful that you have to actually observe it for yourself. I would go watch it right now. So clearly something is not right with the camp here. And now we're kind of gone to the phase of where this actually becomes more of a similar to a zombie survival game or a Walking Dead type moment in this film. And it's something that's just brilliant the way it was executed. And I do remember this movie when I was growing up, although I didn't quite grasp the brevity of all the different things that were going on in the movie. And sometimes when you look at a movie outside of when you once watched it, you just have to relive all these things that you were once fucking thinking when you were a kid. But this movie has that in absolute droves. It's just so great. It's a good movie today. And this acting may be stupid, but some of the characters are quite endearing. I mean, I really like the main actor guy. Josh Becker as Steve is actually really, really, really likable character, and although he acts in a way that is very unique to the way he acts, he acts in a way that he's just very expressionated. You know, he's showing off a lot of expression and emotion, and you can tell these all these actors are trying to act well, and some of them do it well, and some of them not so well. But it's an interesting case study on that because they really a lot of this stuff was practical effects and not real mosquitoes, obviously. So you really like you get a feel for just how vulnerable these characters are, and they play it off really well. I think. Once you get to the main campsite and you know that shit's real, and they start to band together in an almost Walking Dead-esque fashion, and you start to wonder to yourself, you're like, what would I do? What would I do if I came across all these fucking mosquitoes everywhere, and I was fighting them off, and they're capable of killing you in a pretty horrific way, and maybe that's where the acting fails down a little bit because I feel like these people are not quite into as horrific of a death as this could be, and they don't express it as much because if I saw what these fucking things could do and I fucking was around, I would go crazy fucking running around. They start to scientifically study these mosquitoes and try and figure out how to stop them and how to do. And my question is it's like you would think that, well, I mean, I guess back then they didn't have cell phones like our fucking cameras and stuff that we all have on us today, but you gotta wonder that someone would get on the phone and at least alerted someone to the fucking giant mosquitoes ever, especially if they killed, like, there's some of the scenes there's like fucking hundreds of campers dead. It's like for sure that they would come to fight that if they had to. And well, if it isn't the two sketchiest motherfuckers who I've ever seen in my entire life pop up, and they attempt to jack the saviors of this place. Yeah, so they attempt to jack them of their RV, which is a considerably smart decision, I would say, that they tended to try and make. But the funny thing is that they just completely fuck it up and it all goes wrong for them and they get captured. Now, here is this interesting scene that I would be curious to see how other people would handle. Okay, so there's giant mosquitoes everywhere fucking eating people. They just captured these crooks, so we're gonna jack them and steal their shit. So they beat them down. They take their guns and shit, and then they're standing outside the RV, being like, should we leave them or should we just like go away?" And the mosquitoes and the chick's like, "We can't just leave them there." And I'm like, okay, no. I'm like, if any of the guys in the main group had any bit of a level fucking head, or even close to smart enough, or close to trying to use their brain, they wouldn't have let that happen. There's no fucking way. There's no way. I would be like, no, we're not putting them. So we're leaving them as gives. They tried to jack us. They probably take our shit and kill us. But they would leave them up, wouldn't leave them out to the mosquitoes. Like, fuck that. That's when you gotta realize that maybe members of the group didn't even want that in the first place. And then what we get is we get an intense fight for our life against the mosquitoes in the moving RV, which is pretty epic. I don't mind at all this scene. It's pretty sick actually, and it just goes to show how they nail some of these things. This movie has some pretty bad CGI at points, you'll notice, but it's endearing enough, and it's so common of the time to have seen like the very early kind of weirdly CGI-ish experiments that even low-budget movies would have attempted back then. It serves itself well enough. I mean, there was other movies with way better CGI, of course, at the time, but from what they did, they worked with it good enough, and they were admirable enough to use practical special effects that makes it nice. Now we get to one of the more fucked up parts of the entire movie. Now this part stuck with me as a kid and probably terrified the shit out of me. I don't know how my parents even let me watch this. But I remember this as a kid. A guy gets suckered by a fucking mosquito and his fucking eyes pop out of his head and explode. And the practical effects are fucking good. I like it, and it just stands out as a very, very, very bizarre and odd inclusion to have included such a graphic death for the old fucking weirdo that they tried to get them, the old guy's just, no, he's fucking crying. It's such an odd movie. Its direction is just so directionless, and even in the modern setting, it's a good enemy. It's giant mosquitoes. Mosquitoes kill more people than any other animal ever in the world. So you are basically living in a world where mosquitoes kill most people of everything, of all living creatures. It's pretty fucked and pretty relevant to this movie because the mosquitoes actually are hunting the people down and killing them, and they're running through sewers and trying to survive. Uh, it's Walking Dead, but with giant alien mosquitoes, basically. And you know what? I'm all for these types of monster movies from back in the day. Monster movies are sick. It's just like any creature you have, they're just like boom, giant crocodile like Placid, boom, giant mosquitoes, Mosquito 1994. Shit like that is pretty good. And like there's some scenes in this movie that are pretty awesome. And people probably hated it. I don't exactly know what it did at the box office, but I think it did what it set out to do. Now there's a really awesome part that then it goes into. It's what it goes into is it eventually goes in the part where they're held up in the house, just like The Walking Dead. Hey, they were in an RV. They went into a house, to the Herschel house or whatever. it's it's fucking Walking Dead, but zombies. Instead of zombies and walkers, it's goddamn fucking mosquitoes. And they barricade up the house, and it's a pretty epic premise. Make for a sweet game. I'd love to blast some fucking mosquitoes with shotgun. And you know what? This could make an actually like good game. Like imagine if they made a good game out of this movie's premise. It would be fucking awesome. It'd be so hilarious. Um, and you know, as a gamer, you're gonna watch this and as in the eyes of a gamer, which is amazing because they didn't really have many games back then. I mean, this was just the time when people were really starting to use their imaginations on things like Jurassic Park and the things that were coming out. They could just go out there and just go ballistics, and that's when the idea and the mindsets of like a gamer mindset, you know, is like if you watch this older movies and if you see what things are through the eyes of a modern gamer, you're gonna see different things that you didn't even think possible. And yeah, Mosquito is one of those movies. It's fantastic. I had to relive it because I knew it as a kid, but nothing could prepare me for just how fucking sweet it was. And some parts are stupid. Like some of the parts is stupid, and particularly towards the end. I mean, this is gonna be a spoiler. No matter how amazing the premise of holding down the fort. I mean, mosquitoes are all terrifying. So I mean, the people would probably want a GTFO as fucking quick as possible. I would have wanted to do that, but they come up with the plan to lure in all the mosquitoes and then use like a gas explosion to blow up. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, that would never work. Why? Like, there's just like hold up, hit in the basement, barricade, 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 and then wait for military response. That's what you would think would be smart. But this is just kind of a sign of the times of what these movies did back then. Is they kind of had to be a little bit more epic than they had. So they rig up this fucking explosive for all these these to lure in all the mosquitoes to blow them. Because you got to think to yourself, like this is what I would be thinking. Is like logically this is bigger than just this event. You know, there would be more mosquitoes. So I was like, that would be like a pointless to blow up your house. It's like it's your only fucking protection against these goddamn mosquitoes. And not only that, but you probably blow yourself up in the process. So these guys are pretty brave and brave for trying such a thing. So the truth of the matter is Mosquito a good movie? For some people, they'll love it. For some people, they'll probably think it's the stupidest fucking thing they have ever seen in their entire fucking lives. But as a gamer, if you look through it through the gamer's eye, you start to realize that this is a pretty sick movie for old school monster romping. And you have to kind of give it to yourself to sink some time into these older school movies because there's plenty of fun to be had. And I have all manner of movies to see. You know, there's all the greatest ones. But this one kind of caught my eye and I kind of thought of it. It's just like, you see screenshots of the special effects, you're like, whoa, that was like pretty good. And kudos to whoever made the bugs themselves. I mean, they got explosions and weapons and stuff in there, but the fact that they built those goddamn mosquitoes and they're fucking flying around and what the hell? What the hell kind of fucking atmosphere is this? Is this some kind of atmosphere of plegiums or something? Like these creatures are mosquitoes. What are they thinking? What do they want to these people? And when you see those suckers and they get into them and it sucking you out, like what would that even feel like? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine it like a plunger like that, like one of those proboscises and mosquitoes getting you and just like instantly, so you just probably kill you instantly. What's a hilarious thing about the end of the movie is that fucking Indiana Jones is the hell out of there. Once they're all surrounded by the mosquitoes, they're all surrounded, and he jumps in the fucking fridge, and the explosion happens. And like, I don't know, I'm trying to think, like, how long did they wait? Did they wait till like the next day or something? Because all the place would be on fire forever, and it would probably cook the guy alive. But this movie doesn't use logic. It uses intensity, just of an intense fight against mosquitoes, giant mosquitoes. Ugh. You know, like the whole alien plot itself is fucking hilarious too. Cause like, wait, what a second, wasn't there aliens? Because I'm like, well, I thought we were on to aliens. Aliens are the bigger thing. Them turning the mosquitoes giant is one thing in itself. And look, this movie has some pretty great moments too. Like when they're barricading the house. This guy with the fucking mullet here, he's just a hilarious wonky tonky bonky. He fucking brings out a chainsaw at one time. He's like, he's just, and there are some endearing characters here. There's truly some fun to be had in this old school random movie out of absolutely nowhere that they came out with. You gotta imagine just like a movie producer or something walking in the studio. He's like, okay, listen, out in the middle of nowhere, on some camp place, there's giant mosquitoes, and the guy fights him with a fucking chainsaw. Can I have $50 million? I don't even know what this movie's budget. I don't care enough to look it up, but it's like he's fighting a giant mosquito with a chainsaw. He's fucking flailing around. He's fucking this. Some of the characters in this movie you just learn love to hate. Some of them you love to love. It's a whole roller coaster of emotions, of up, downs, and overs. And this is just the most random out there movie ever. But like I said, if you look at it through the eyes of a gamer, you will see things in this world that you cannot even believe. You cannot even believe, you cannot even imagine. These things, these crazy movies that people invented way back in the day when they had all these ideas coming out of their heads, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do that, and yeah, we're gonna do that. And like, they didn't have the games we had today where it's like fucking hyper realistic graphics and shit like that. They just had their imagination, and in this world that is, I don't know, so imaginative. Wouldn't it be a shame not to use your imagination for the greatest things possible? But watching a guy getting his bodily fluids sucked out by a giant mosquito until his eyes pop and blow up like balloons. It's great. It's a hell of a time, and I would 100% recommend the Mosquito. Mosquitoes.